Sorry for the inconveniences. Our moderator, Ms. Lynn Komugisha, anytime. And our topic today is how best can Ugandans in diaspora participate in the politics at home? They are already participating, but how best can they participate? How can the government or the people facilitate the participation of Uganda so that it's effective at home? We're gonna begin our discussion with Mr. Martin Byakulela. Please set the pace. Can you tell us, I know you have experience in organizing, you've been a diplomat, but currently you are actively participated in organizing the Ugandan diaspora, especially the USA, Ugandans living in USA and Canada, in participating in the local politics. So please tell us, how best can we do this? Thank you.
Okay, good morning. I don't know whether you can see me very well. I didn't have enough time to set up my lighting, but am I okay?
Yes.
Is the picture fine?
Yes.
Okay. So I thank you so much for your invitation for me to attend this discussion. And I greet my other panelists. I think now we have Mr. Bakasara, who I know quite well. At least I last met him a few months ago. We were in DC. Yeah, and I was on my way to another meeting. So you have a good question. How best can Uganda diaspora participate in Ugandan politics? Yes, this word best was intriguing. You just explained that they are already participating, but the question is how best. Now, the other thing I was looking at is Ugandan politics. So I think the first question that comes to me is what Uganda's politics is precisely dictatorship and misgovernance by Mr. Museveni. I can also add that it is the death of democracy, and it is also the opposition party's own organizational confusion and unwillingness to work together. It is also decay and neglect of the infrastructure and shoddy social services, and sometimes complete lack of social services. So going back a little bit under dictatorship and misgovernance, rights and freedoms are muzzled, and everybody knows that. The opposition is not tolerated, but only begrudgingly accepted. In Uganda, I think Uganda is the only democracy where when one comes up as the opposition, is regarded as an enemy. The president of Uganda, Mr. Yoweri Museveni, calls the people in the opposition enemies. So, in other words, the democratic process in his country is a war, because you only have enemies in war, and you seek to obliterate them in war. So it is little wonder, like what we saw happen in 2021, the way the president of Uganda, I don't like to call him that. Let me call him the Ugandan leader. The way the Ugandan leader treated those who were in opposition against him in a democratic contest. He treated them really like they were enemies. The most poignant image was that of a young candidate, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, donning a helmet, military helmet, and more often donning a bulletproof jacket. Now, this image went to show the world that these people were not in a democratic contest, but some kind of war. The politics of Uganda is the politics of corruption, is the politics of embezzlement, and is the politics of outright theft. Miriam, you will recall, and the other panelists shall recall as well, that a bill was presented in Parliament to ask for about $400 million to build a hospital, a specialized hospital in Lubowa on Entebbe Road. I'd like to inform you that that money was assented to, and as soon as it was assented to, it was obtained from the necessary institutions and promptly disappeared. Up to today, there's no hospital. Land around public schools in Uganda, especially in Kampala, around public schools, has just disappeared completely. The actors in this regime are so greedy. They're outright thieves. When they see a school and see people or pupils playing football or any other game in fields around that school, they feel so bad. They go in the Ministry of Lands and other appropriate institutions and ensure that they take that land procedurally, first through bureaucratic ways and then later physically. Normally, these lands are sold to people called investors. Usually nothing happens after that. But the short and long of it is that those lands disappear. That is the politics of Uganda. Outright robbery. The politics of Uganda is misappropriation of government property. You will all recall, I think some of you are old enough to know, that Uganda had a railway services. Today, they want to revive the railway, but I think they are confused because every little property that Uganda Railway Services used to have has disappeared. They are looking for official figures, official records to see where is this, where is that. Everything has disappeared. Properties have been sold. And they are being sold in a very shoddy manner. It is all very despicable. And that happens in Uganda. The politics of Uganda is rain coming down and the whole city floods. The politics of Uganda is the inability to move from your workplace to your home in a car because the traffic jam is 5 hours. In a poor country, by the way. The politics of Uganda is neglect and incompetence. Have you guys looked at the housing for Uganda police? And I am told that equally the housing for Ministry of Defense or UPDF is almost in a similar state. Now, how do you call upon the police of Uganda to go and keep law and order when they are living like rats? How do you call upon the soldiers of UPDF to go and fight for Uganda when they are living like rats? Little wonder, therefore, that when our army went to Mogadishu in Somalia, some of the elements were selling the fuel or the gas to the enemy. Some of the elements were selling bullets to the enemy. That is the politics of Uganda. The politics of Uganda is crumbling hospitals and no medicine. The politics of Uganda is one of financial obfuscation and collusion. A whole minister of finance signs a deal with the Chinese to obtain money to build or to rebuild the airport, and practically signs away the airport and says he didn't know. and nobody is raising any issue apart from the poor parliamentarians asking him. The president even hasn't spoken. The president is unconcerned. The president is in his own world. He's in his own world. He doesn't know what is going on actually. When we Ugandans voted in 2021, I was talking to a friend and I said, you know what? This is going to be the worst 5-year political term for Museveni and Uganda. The worst. Not for Museveni, but for Ugandans. And for sure, just less than a year, we are seeing tremendous, mind-boggling developments. People are stealing, people are robbing. The president is nowhere to be seen, he's absent. He shows up when he's a little confused, putting on funny jackets and funny shoes. Then he talks about himself, how he's rich and nobody helped him. Then he disappears. The airport is going. The country is going. The politics of Uganda is wrong decision-making. No consultation from the experts. And really, this one is the acme. The management of Uganda Railway bought 4 locomotives from South Africa. Each locomotive is 20 billion. Also, that is what they told us. 20 billion for each locomotive. That is not it. That's not enough. The locomotives are not appropriate for the Ugandan tracks. They can't be used. That is the politics of Uganda. All those people apparently, I want to look up their names, but I'm very sure they are what is called these days Bachwezi. Because the politics of Uganda is the politics of tribalism as championed by Mr. Museveni. So all those organizations where there's a little money to be eaten, the Bachwezi are the ones occupying those offices. How do you go and buy 4 locomotives that cannot fit your trucks, but you are in the top management of the railway? The question is, do you really know what you're doing? What was your intention in buying these locomotives? Did you just want to get a difference on the price and just dump them there? What is going on? I can't even finish describing to you the politics of Uganda. It's just too much. But it is a politics of confusion, dictatorship, death of governance, and democracy. Can you hear me, Miriam? Miriam,
yes.
have you?
Hi, Martin. Yes, we can hear you. Please go on. Hello, yes. Martin. My name is Lynn Komugisha. I'm your host. Apologies, I came in a bit late.
That's all right.
I've been on the move. Apologies, but I'm here. But please, if you're still on the floor, carry on. Then I'll come in later. We can all hear you.
All right. Okay. So I was still describing the politics of Uganda. Nice to see you. They told us that you are stuck in traffic, and knowing what the traffic of Uganda implies, we said that one will come tomorrow. So let us go ahead because we know your problems.
I'm actually up country. Thank you.
Oh, you are up country?
Yes.
Yeah, there is no traffic there. Okay, so now I have been describing and writing about the politics of Uganda, and I'm almost done. But apart from the confusion, dictatorship, and misgovernance by Mr. Museveni, which I have just finished describing with a few examples, I would like to add that the politics of Uganda is also the politics of opposition parties' disorganization and unwillingness to work together due to what I call insolence, egos, greed, and mistrust. Now, the last part, which is mistrust, that one has been the making of Mr. Museveni. You see, when people unite, especially the opposition, their agenda of political change becomes easier. So any astute dictator will ensure that these people do not unite. So what he does is to sow mistrust amongst their ranks so that they do not come together as one. We have seen that, and what Mr. Museveni uses most today is bribery. He puts money in the ranks of people, and he has many tricks. So sometimes he invites some of them in the night, and then he makes sure their detractors catch a glimpse of them. Then tomorrow the two start fighting. They said, you were in the State House. They say, for you, where did you see us from? So this is the confusion by Mr. Museveni, but also on a bigger part is the making of the opposition politicians themselves. Now, the politics of Uganda, once again, is one of lawlessness and impunity, but again, championed by Museveni and his people. I think all of you recall these days an episode where someone was in a traffic confusion or whatever it was, and then the gentleman, when he was stopped by the police, got out his phone and talked to someone and told the police, Gambanogo. This is the impunity, Gambanogo, lawlessness and impunity. Because Gambanogo, the one who is on the other side, can ensure that you get a pass, even if whatever you're doing is wrong, because you have political power. And that is so sad. So this, the politics of Uganda, once again, is one of, I said, tribalism and ethnic domination. And this one now is going too far. And I would like to give you a poignant example once again, because these are terrible examples. And this one, those of us activists in the diaspora will work on it. Actually, I think I should talk about this in the next part of my discussion. Yeah, because this first one, I was just describing the politics of Uganda, what it means. And recently, you know that the young man, the son of the president, has also brought us another definition to the politics of Uganda. He says that Uganda is a nation of Bachwezi. So I don't know whether he had consulted with the Karamajong and the Luo and the Iteso, I don't know, and the Alur, I don't know. But he's by all means and by all intents and purposes, generally a very I think he doesn't have a grasp of issues, because you can't say Uganda is a nation of virtues. First of all, Uganda is not a nation. No, it is a country which is a conglomeration of nations. It is not a nation itself. It's not homogeneous, because one of the characteristics of a nation is homogeneity of ethnicity. It is not. It's rather a conglomeration of nations. That is why, again, some of us agitate for federation, because we have a beautiful country, which is a conglomeration of persons who have different cultures. But again, that is discussion for another time. But the politics of Uganda, once again, is one where elections are undermined. Elections as a modicum of political change, they are grossly undermined. That is the politics of Uganda. After 5 years, they are undermined. So what is going to happen? Because in a democracy, for peaceful regime change, we use elections. So if elections are undermined, that means we cannot have peaceful regime change anymore. So what are we going to do next? Your guess is as good as mine. The politics of Uganda is one where laws are made in bad faith. For example, in 1995, Mr. Museveni made sure that he puts laws in the Uganda Constitution which were meant to facilitate his longevity into office. In fact, little wonder that those who were close to him, like Kamuhanda, are in opposition, because they knew what was going on. They know the program. It's a very serious program. You make a law which gives the incumbent president absolute power over those who want to come in office. Then what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What fairness and free election are you guaranteeing? The politics of Uganda is one of poverty, death, and illiteracy. And I will stop there in defining the politics of Uganda. But that right there is the politics of Uganda.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Martin Byakulela. Martin, I'm very disturbed by the very ugly picture you paint of our country. And it makes me, get worried. But thank you very much for that. We shall get into the debate in just a bit. I want to thank you, all of you joined us. I'm sorry I came in late. I've been on the road for, I think, like last, I don't know how many hours, but I'm glad to be here. Welcome again to the other episode of Uganda Diaspora Show. My name is Lynn Komugisha. For those of you who are meeting me for the first time, I work with Vision Group. Now, in regard to our topic, I want to welcome Evelyn Nakiduuka, Albert Bakasara, Francis Kamuhanda, Miriam Kyomugasho. Thank you for holding the fort. And Martin, I'm very pleased to meet you. Now, Martin has painted a very grim picture of what Uganda looks like, and that's very sad. I wish I could show you a picture of how beautiful Uganda is right now where I am. I'm looking at Lex, Edward, and George, and I'm thinking, wow, we need to appreciate a little bit of our country. That notwithstanding, whereas Martin paints a bad picture, I'm hoping that somebody can at least appreciate the little good there is. Albert, are you there? Can you at least give me some hope? Give us some hope. Tell me that the Ugandan diaspora, you people are not out there to simply say, okay, I am away from my country and it looks really ugly. I don't like this picture. But you were once Ugandan. Okay, you are still Ugandan, but you were in the country that you're saying is really deplorable. It has endless issues like every other country. Albert.
Yes, ma'am.
From what Martin has said, please assure us that there's some hope somewhere.
There is some hope somewhere. Anyway, so I had Martin, and yes, you are the moderator. You can jump in, but I have to caution you in that the description, and really this is from common knowledge. What you see depends on where you're standing. So the perspective that Martin gave, it's not uncommon to find among our fellow Ugandans here. It's really not. But I don't really want to debate Martin on that, but I will grant you your wish. I will give you hope. I'll give you hope that all is not bad about Uganda, and we're not out here singing and drumming how our country is deplorable. At least I'm not. So, but to the topic of how we best engage in the politics of Uganda, I'll put that into areas. I will define you guys, and for the purposes of this discussion, let's divide ourselves. Let you guys be Ugandans and we be Ugandans in the diaspora. So what do we do as Ugandans in the diaspora? First, before we do anything, we have to unite. We have to have a common purpose that unites us as Ugandans in the diaspora. And for the longest time, we have not done that. We have not done that. We've brought a replica of our tribal wars and tribal small t, tribal wars to the American scene. We have brought the replica of our politics to the American scene. The same dividing barriers that we had or still have in Uganda are what we have brought to North America. And I can only speak to the environment that I'm accustomed to. I don't know how the people in London are doing it or the people in Dubai are doing it. So I'll refrain and I'll keep my comments to the environment that I'm familiar with. And that's the North American diaspora. I've lived in this community for about 25 years now. I'm raising a family, I work. So I'm familiar with this environment. So the other part is on you, and I'm saying you not to make myself somehow American and not Ugandan, but I'm saying you for the purposes of this conversation. The people who are in Uganda who test the grit and brunt on the daily lives, the floods, the beauty that you're describing, I don't see it now, you're seeing it. So what, regarding you guys, your role would be to leverage the expertise, the connections, and really the influence of your sons and daughters who are in the US, or brothers and sisters who are in the American diaspora, to entice them to contribute positively to the advancement of our motherland, Uganda. So on the other side, you have us, as they say, charity begins at home. We need to do a good job of leaving the baggage that we came with from Uganda and developing a coherent community here in North America. Because if we don't care, if we don't work on ourselves, we can't help you. And you might not even need our help. Then on the other side, like I said, you guys have to do a better job of trying to leverage our expertise, our influence, our connections to see how we can describe a different picture than what you're contesting Martin to have put out. That becomes your job, to correct Martin. If you don't, That's on you as well as it is on him, as much as you would like to shift the blame on him. And I'm using those words loosely. So what do we do first as Ugandans in North America to unite ourselves and to break that yoke of that baggage that we came with? For some of us who have been community leaders and community activists, we really have been trying to do that, to forge unity. And we find barriers, some of them of our own making and some of them sponsored by the government of Uganda. Now you'd wonder, really? Why is the government of Uganda sponsoring divisions among diaspora communities? The truth is, we are a feared community, but only because somebody has never cared to use us differently or to look at us differently. Of recent, this community is looked at as a threat to the government, to the sustainability of the government of Uganda. Our community organizations that try to bring peace and development amongst ourselves are being really torn apart deliberately. So how we get out of that is not something that I can put on our fellow Ugandans. That on us. We need to do a better job to build this community that we are in for us to even be useful, to contribute to what's going on in Uganda. Then again, on Uganda's part, on you guys in Uganda, the part of you, that you have to play in this is to give us a good story for us to sell. I think in our last conversation, I was talking about how all of us here, about 150 Ugandans in North America, are ambassadors of Uganda, not just the 10 or 12 diplomats that you send to America. And along those lines, I think that's where you meet Martin Byakulela. Now, you might not like what he has to say, but that's your ambassador in Boston, Massachusetts. I don't even know how the ambassador of Uganda, the former ambassador of Uganda, actually, I'm not sure how much he travels to Boston. Probably maybe once a year, or maybe he's been there 3-4 times. Martin lives there. Martin interacts with Americans, Martin interacts with all people from all walks of life. That story that he's telling is the story he's telling out there. Change it. And you do have the powers to do that. You do have the powers to do that. I'll give you a few pointers on how we can start by doing that, or how you guys can start by doing that. The government of Uganda, the self-inflicted wounds, the unforced errors, need to stop, or to at least be minimized. They need to be stopped, to stop completely or be minimized. I have never advocated, or have never been one who advocated that Uganda should somehow turn into America or do everything as we do here. We're not perfect. This country is not perfect. It's an experiment. We have our ills, so Uganda has theirs. But I'm thinking in between, picking of what works here and what works in Uganda, we can influence in each other. We can engage each other and contribute to each other's community positively. Uganda contributes to us here as your sons and daughters, brothers and sisters. Contribute to us. We need your support as well. But you also need our support. At least that's how we think. And you do, actually. You do. We're influential and we're connected people. And also we send a ton of money to Uganda. When you don't, and I'm going to bring this personal so you understand what we're talking about and what Martin is alluding to. About 2 weeks ago, I canceled my family trip to Uganda. I usually vacation in Uganda every year in December. I was coming with the whole family, budget's done, everything done. And then 2 weeks ago, I don't even need to describe the Kavuyo at the airport and all that, because those are the things that when we talk about them, you say we're defining a deplorable picture. But I looked at that and I looked at the stories I read and was like, me as a Ugandan, if I was coming by myself, I would have come. But I'm looking at, oh my God, I'm going to land at midnight, and chances are with my 4 kids and my American wife, we're not going to leave that airport until 6 o'clock in the morning. I think, oh my God, they'll kill me. So I canceled the trip, and my vacation, the money that I had thought I was going to spend in Toro and Kampala to infuse into the Ugandan community is going to be taken by some businesses on the Florida coast, because I'm still going to take a vacation. But you can see that. So if you ask, if I meet somebody right now who wants, an American who wants to vacation in Uganda, what story do you want me to tell, Lynn? Should I say, oh, go ahead, and yet I just canceled my vacation? So those are the things that I'm talking about. And I'm not trying to inject myself in here. I'm just giving you a relatable experience so we don't talk about these things in the abstract. That's what we mean by giving us a good story. These things are not rocket science. Is it really that hard? A plane is going to land at Entebbe Airport. It's not going to be like 9/11 where planes were forced to land and people were not prepared for them. You have known about this plane. You know where it's coming from. You know how many people are on it. Is it really hard to organize a staff to meet those people coming off the plane and arrange them and test them, whatever you have to do, and just get them out into a system? Is it really that hard for people to pick a number and stand in line and say, okay, this is your number, and now we're serving number 2, you come forward, now we're serving? Is it really that hard? No. But those are the stories that dominate the news cycle. Schools. Why are schools still closed in Uganda? Those are the stories that dominate the cycle. Arrests, summary arrest. Yeah, everyone, if we're aspiring to have a country that we would like our children and grandchildren to live in, it has to be a country of laws. I am not going to sit here and say, oh, if I have committed a crime, Museveni should not touch me. Oh, no, he should touch me. But by God, do you have to come in the middle of the night in an unmarked car and drive off at breakneck speeds and cause crime? Do you really have to do that? We could just knock on my door like the FBI does. Hey, police, Albert, open. And they open the door. And you ask me your questions. If you have to handcuff me, handcuff me. My wife comes to the car, instead of knocking her with the butt of the gun, why can't you just talk to the woman and say, your husband has committed this crime. We're taking him to Kiriaka police station. Here's the number of the OC Kiriaka. By the way, we see he's in sandals. If you want to bring some shoes, the visiting hours, here's my card, call me. Why can't you be that civil? A member of parliament, and it doesn't even mean I have to agree with his politics or not. He's sitting in court, taking off his shoes and showing the judge a rotting feet, and then beatings. And why are you beating a member of parliament? If he has a crime, he's in your custody, he's in jail. Why are you beating him to a pulp to the point of putting him in ICU? Why? So you can look at all the beauty. And I'm not sure whether you're in Hyman, Fort Potro, Kasese, you can look at all the beauty. We know the beauty. For God's sake, I'm Albert Bakasara Amoti. I come from Toro, the pearl in the pearl of Africa. I know the beauty of Uganda. No one has to describe it to me. But it has become harder and harder and harder for me to sell to my American co-workers and friends. And I used to a lot. I used to send a lot of delegations to Uganda. I used to vacation with a lot of Americans. Even December, I said, but I'm coming with you. And I was like, let's go. Whenever I would come, I'll put a bag of peanuts for my office and write a little note and even a map of Uganda where the peanuts come from, and just to sell the country. But I'm telling you, it has become harder and harder. I'm not sure how you guys change that. So that's really just to answer you, and maybe I'm not sure if I successfully gave you a positive view that you were looking for. Maybe I would want to think that I gave you a challenge more than a positive
All
view.
right. At
Thank
least
you,
you did.
Lynn.
You did try. Albert, thank you very much. I'm going to give each one of us 15 minutes to give the submissions so that we you know make we deal with the issue of time. Albert said, you know, tries to, you know, soften the view of what Uganda is, but it's still lacking a great deal. Martin mentioned that Museveni has issues, and everybody who has, you know, tried to talk about the politics of Uganda has pointed a finger at the president. My question is the problem Museveni, because he's been in power for a few years, allow me use that, and other people, the country has been in existence for a long time. Have the politics only, you know, made sense to us during the Museveni time? And what does this say of the people that surround him? Then how do you describe yourselves? Because you were Ugandans, you only got a chance to leave the country. So when you sit there and paint a grim picture of what the country is because perhaps you're not on ground to see that we are doing the best we can. I'm trying to say. Now, Albert, you mentioned that you canceled your vacation because of what was going on at the airport. I want to assure you that right now you can spend just 2 hours, you know, just 2 hours, get your tests. You have a special desk as guests coming into the country. You do your COVID test. 2 hours later, you have your results, and off you go. I thought that would, you know, be a good thing for you. But then you canceled your trip, sadly. Now, allow me invite Evelyn Nakiduuka. Evelyn Nakiduuka is, I think it's my first time to meet her here, and I'm very grateful to meet you, Evelyn. Allow me, I need to first clear something here. Yes, Evelyn is a apologies there. I'm sorry, because I need to make some things very clear here. And now Evelyn is a computer scientist. She's also, she holds a Master's of Science in Management of Technology from the University of Minnesota. She's a human rights activist, and she is active in National Unity Politics. Evelyn, you have the floor. How best can Uganda Diaspora participate in the politics of Uganda? We have seen Martin saying that things don't look really nice, and there's a very big problem at the hem of the country. Albert says things really are not that bad. We're not yet there. We're trying to get there, and we still have a long way to go. People in the diaspora, we've had issues, we've had concerns. Many people have had concerns that all you do is paint a grim picture of your own country. Then what does that make you? Please, Evelyn.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation and this opportunity to speak to the audience. It is very early here in North America right now. However, both Martin and Albert have actually given two different perspectives of what we look at here in the diaspora. One of the things that I would say is, as an activist, to begin with, one of the reasons one joined to be an activist is what we see. Social media plays a very huge role in painting the picture of what is in Uganda. And as a member of National Unity Platform, what does that, it doesn't even need anyone genius to look at what is happening in Uganda. We don't really have to necessarily say a story. But in this era of social media, there's a lot that is out there. Yes, it's not entirely that everything that is on social media is true, but it has played a role in painting what exactly Uganda, the situation in Uganda is. There's a lot of human rights abuse. there's a lot of unlawlessness. One of the things that I would say personally that made me join National Unity Platform is because I looked at what His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi was representing. He was representing the people, the oppressed people. And it gave me an opportunity to not sit on the sidelines, but to come out and say, let me be part and parcel and join this young man who is representing the people, because the suppression is very, very clear. What Albert has shown you is just a snippet of what is being advised, even within the US government itself. It's like they will caution you how and where you're going to Uganda. But at the same time, the majority of us who live in the diaspora, we have a choice. One, we can choose to live in the comfort. I haven't been in the diaspora for too long, but you can choose to be in the comfort and be happy with, and look on the sideline and say, I don't really care. However, if you care about your home country and you would want to see that whatever that you're enjoying here, or you're seeing the laws that govern here, you desire to try and have that sent or replicated back home. And when His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi, you look at a person who is vying and who has come out to help and work towards that goal, it gives you hope. And I will tell you, it is not an easy decision to make to join the opposition when you're in the diaspora. Because, like you say, of course, the current government has been in power for 35 years. That means he has placed himself far and wide. You live in the same community with someone of his family. However, it does not necessarily mean that you're enemies. You have a choice. You look at, what do you believe in? I didn't cut out to be an activist entirely. But when I look at what is done and how the suffering of the people in Uganda is, and there's no service, there is the roads are horrible. The members of parliament are treated like chicken. Everything, there's no law, anything that will govern the country. So you desire that, and then you make a choice. Yes, we are challenged daily, and they will tell you that. Personally, I make a choice and I say, what is the right thing to do? And one of the things that you learn, and when you see that you have an opportunity with someone who can represent or do the right thing, then you make a choice to join that person. However, within our communities itself, it's a very difficult situation. You're threatened. One, everyone will caution you. Why are you doing that? Why are you speaking up? Why are you even care? You're here, you're enjoying everything, you should be quiet. And that is what the current government has actually trained the people in the diaspora, that, oh, you have actually left Uganda. You're doing better. Don't even think about what is going on in Uganda. So at the end of the day, the challenge is a matter of a choice. If you're looking at who can I align myself? If you look at the situation right now in Uganda, I'll take an example of young children, 12 years of age, 11, 13, who are having babies. They're babies themselves, and they're having babies. That is a girl child. So personally, I'll support that. I cannot be comfortable in my own home and not come out and work with any organization to be able to help the girl child. However, what do? You make a choice and say, okay, who is representing the girl child? What can we do? Why are schools closed for the last 2 years? We have family, we have relatives, and they've been sitting at home with no plan whatsoever. So those are the things that we as, I'll call myself the opposition in the diaspora, that we look at and we evaluate and see what is worth. Is it me to keep quiet and be happy with what the current government is doing? Or do I have a choice to speak up? And what happens is you stand alone, but you keep standing on the truth. You simply advocate for better governance. You simply advocate for human rights. You seek ways and you partner with anyone who will support the human rights in Uganda, the abuse that is going on. When we look at drones, when you talk about an experience of drones, the fear that surrounds you as someone in the diaspora, you're like, you don't know if your family, anyone at any one time is going to be abducted. So we cannot continuously sit on the sidelines. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, that social media paints the picture easily, and we don't have to even talk so much that Uganda is not doing great, or Uganda is having, it's a horrible country. No, it is very out there. In this day and era, the information is available. Like that, what Albert mentioned about the situation at the airport. It is absurd. It is crazy. You have a vaccination, you have a PCR certification that you've had before you travel and you get to the airplane, that 72 hours you have actually been tested. And here we are again, that Uganda imposes another additional test without a thought through process, without understanding what does that implicate to the travelers? What kind of image is it giving to Uganda as a whole? So no one can even recommend and tell anyone to travel to Uganda. It is a mess. It's a total mess. So when we come in as the opposition and join and simply say, I am ready to join and partner with an organization or an individual that stands for the people, you make a choice and join, and you rally your colleagues within your community. If you have an opportunity to serve within the communities, I have an opportunity to serve in different capacities as a board member in various capacities, regardless that I am a computer scientist on my day job. But I have an opportunity that I serve as a board member, executive board member on Feed My Starving Children. And one of our partnering people that we partner with are in Uganda. And all we do is we look at ways to feed the people. And we have those stories. Even bringing in all the food and the items to Uganda is a hassle. So we don't even have to paint a different picture. Right now, I have an opportunity to serve on the border for YMCA within my very community. But I speak about what is in Uganda and what am I looking at? I'm rallying on organizations, on people that stand for the people and support the people in Uganda. I may not entirely work with the Ugandan community in my community because, one, there is fear. You'll be poisoned, you'll be done. They tell you all that propaganda. And initially, if you don't have a good way to analyze the information that is brought to you, you will keep away. However, if you're a human being and care about people and you see the situation in Uganda, you stand up. So when you stand up, you go on a one-on-one basis and speak to the people and say, look, you don't have to be noob, but you're a person first. A child is having another child. Is that a good thing? Then this person will say, how best can I support you? And how best can I come in to work with you? Because one, you've stood up. You've said, I am going to be the champion to begin this rally. And that's how His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi has worked with the diaspora closely, because he represents the people and the challenges that they face daily. And it's not rocket science to simply say, you may not like entirely stand with everything that is written out as NUP. So you have a choice and say, okay, I am not going to be NUP. What can I do as a person in the diaspora in support of Ugandan politics? Then you have a choice. You can go human rights activism. You have a choice. You can support the girl child. You can support the education system, you know? So those are the ways we can actually come in and say we can be part and parcel of the politics in Uganda. We may not understand, I may not entirely understand the politics that goes into parliament, that goes into elections. But one of the things I want to point out as a scientist, I was on a part of a team that designed the app to manage the U-Vote, to manage elections. When you look at things like shutting down internet on the day of election, that's already dictatorial tendencies. So to me, you don't have even to explain further. So the world really sees what is out there, but we have a choice.
Right.
We have a choice.
Evelyn, your time is almost up.
All right. Yep. I think, again, thank you for this opportunity to speak. There's a lot. Actually, you can talk about, there's so much opportunity that one can stand and align themselves and help the situation in Uganda. And if we can work together and make a choice on who can you work with to support different issues that are happening, all improve issues in Uganda.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
So there is that opportunity. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Evelyn. Miriam, you have the floor right now. Evelyn seems to think that there's a whole lot that Uganda is trying to do, and there's a whole lot that it's still failing, to work on. Miriam, you have been at the fore of activism. You know what's going on in the country. You see Uganda at a distance. You are at a distance. But then what formulates Uganda's politics? Is it what we have tagged Musevenism, or is it something else? What really builds, or what really shapes what figure? How would you describe Uganda politics? You, as Miriam, has been at the fore, rather, you've been in activism, is what I'm trying to say. But the picture everybody is painting is a little bad. You are in the diaspora. Can you give us a picture that you relate with?
Thank you, Ms. Lynn. They say a good picture speaks for itself. So nobody has to paint it bad or good. It should be there and it should be able to speak for itself. What picture do Ugandans in diaspora see about Uganda is exactly what they are talking about. You see, when, like Mr. Bakasara said, you see, depending on where you're standing, that determines your view. When you're in diaspora and you see how other governments are run, when you see other things are being managed, you get this feeling that we can do better than this. And indeed we can. Why not? We have educated people so far in Uganda, a good number that can really manage well the government. We can put systems in place. We can do a lot better than what we are doing today. Let me go back briefly by saying, what is politics? Politics is the management of the society. And at the political level, that means you're managing the resources on the behalf of the people who put you there, assuming that you were elected democratically. So by the time you are in power and you're managing the politics, you have an agenda, you have a manifesto, you have people's aspirations, and how well are you managing the resources on behalf of those people who voted you into power. But so far what we are seeing, for instance, I don't want to go back to what other panelists have already said, but let me say this. For instance, the way the COVID funds were mismanaged, why are we still closing schools? If those funds were managed well, there would be a lot of mitigating systems put in place so that the schools wouldn't have to close for 2 years. Don't you agree with that, Ms. Lynn? Imagine cutting out 2 years from a growing child's life. So far, that generation is being called a lost generation, but in Uganda, it's a completely lost generation. Most countries were closing for like 6 months, a few, but in Uganda, we had to close for 2 years. Why? Why couldn't we put in place mechanisms that the kids could continue running? They promised radios, the radios never came. They promised to continue facilitating kids study from home, but so far they can't even study from schools if you know the condition the UPE schools are in. So how could they even facilitate anybody to study from home? You know what happened? What did we fail to do, and why did we fail to really do well, especially managing the COVID epidemic? Yesterday I was reading that the Minister of Health has come up to say that they are controlling the cost of treating COVID patients. 1 year or 2 years after COVID, I mean, the epidemic was here, the medical facilities, whether private or government, were overcharging the patients, and most patients were dying because they couldn't access the medical costs. But the minister was there standing, waiting, and now when the COVID infection rates are going down, she's just coming out to say that they are intervening and cutting down the cost. Where was she all along? We had enough donations, enough loans to facilitate medical treatment for COVID patients if the government wanted to. But what happened? The minister, her relatives, and her friends were misappropriating all the money here and there, and nobody was doing nothing. So when people in diaspora say that things are bad, Ms. Lynn, things are really bad, and can we just pause around and see what are we not doing right instead of trying to defend what is already bad? Like I said, the good picture speaks for itself. For instance, when you want to paint Uganda good, you talk about the physical features. That's what God created. But what have we done to that? To facilitate, I mean, for value addition or to make those resources work for us. For instance, Albert said they are canceling trips and tourists are stuck. So how will those physical features help you if you can't even come and visit? If the tourists can't access them, you have bad roads, you have no network, internet was cut off. Those physical features are going to be there even when we have a dictator, even when we had Idi Amin, the physical features were there. Even the colonialists who were terrorists were describing Uganda as a power, but they came and killed Ugandans. Ugandans were suffering, being forced to work for colonialists. On the other hand, they were saying, oh, it's a part of Africa. But what about the people? Are they feeling like it's a real power? How is your mother feeling at home? How is the street vendor feeling about during this COVID epidemic? Are they feeling that Uganda is like Victoria, the scenic view of Mount Rwenzori? How is it going to help the poor mother on the street who can't feed her kids? So those are the issues we should look into. And people in diaspora face those things firsthand. Actually, you say we are far away, but we are more closer than you think. When people get sick, we have to send the money. When kids don't go to school, most of these kids are being paid for by people in diaspora. We understand they are running away from homes. They are getting fired at home. Those things are being faced firsthand. So we are far physically, but we are not far as far as facing the negative side of Ugandan politics is concerned. So the other issues I wanted to raise, like when we talk about how best can Ugandans participate in the politics at home. Can we have a political representation? So far, Uganda has 2 million Ugandans are already in diaspora. That's a big constituency, and it's a productive constituency. If you look at the remittances we are sending back home, But so far, what do we have? We have weak embassies which can't even protect Ugandans in diaspora. A case in point is the Ugandan workers in the Middle East. Even Ugandans here, for instance, the US embassy looks as if it's a bit active, but it's not helping a lot. How are Ugandans protected by the government, even when we are abroad? Ugandans send their money back home, that money is squandered, nobody is there, no mechanisms are there to protect people who are investing back in Uganda. So those are things. How best can we participate in politics? Can we have a voice? Can we step in? Can we have a big ministry maybe to manage the diaspora community? We don't need even a ministry, but an establishment, an institution facilitated well to manage those people. But the condition and the nature of the Ugandans in diaspora, some of these people are people running away from the government excesses. So how best can they participate in politics even when in such a condition? So why are you surprised that most Ugandans in diaspora are opposition? Some of them are running away from home because of the dictatorship. So they are opposition even if they were in Uganda. It's not like they become opposition when they go outside. So the issue is, how best can we channel that energy for better management, for the welfare of Uganda as a country? Mr. Martin talked about the dictatorship. Oh yes, it's a dictatorship. And if you want to know, it's not about what the Ugandans, the image the Ugandans in diaspora portray. They are facts, and if you say you read human rights reports, for instance, of the US government in 2020 about Uganda, there are arbitrary killings. The government is doing nothing about it. Arbitrary arrests and kidnappings by the government, cutting out the internet, as Mr. Evelyn said, squandering money, the corruption, rigging elections. So those things are also there. You can't say that they are being created. They are there. And if we don't talk about them, what is going to happen? They say pregnancy can't be hidden with hands. Whether you put your hands and cover the stomach, the bulge is going to come out and the kid is going to be produced. The kid we are producing today of a dictatorship in Uganda is a mismanaged society. We already see. If the roads are mismanaged, Mr. Byakulela talked about the railway. That's a small example about how government resources are squandered. Now most East African countries have railway networks going around and facilitating economic growth. In Uganda, we even don't have highways, which can support bigger trucks to carry commodities from up country to the selling points. The railway was cut and eaten as scrap by the government in power. So those are several other things that they are examples. And like I said earlier, I don't want to take more time and there are more panelists to comment. A good image should speak of itself. You don't need to paint it black when it's white. But what we see is what we talk about. The question is, how can we channel that energy for the betterment of Uganda? Politically, economically, socially. The diaspora community has a lot to contribute to Uganda at home. Remittances alone, but through expertise, knowledge transfer, technology transfer, and even like Mr. Bakasara said, we are the ambassadors. For every one person in diaspora, whether they are in Kenya, whether they are in Rwanda or in the Middle East, the moment you say you're from Uganda, you are speaking for Uganda at that moment and you are representing Uganda. So the message you put out there, it contributes a lot in building the image of Uganda. Thank you.
Absolutely. I agree with you totally. Thank you very much, Miriam. We're trying to see how best the diaspora, you people I am talking to from Uganda here, how best, first of all, you're painting the picture which is wrong, and now we are looking for solutions. Like Miriam has said, can we have some representation? Can we have a body that oversees the Ugandan diaspora in the different corners of the world, that people are. And that I thought we do with our embassies, but from the picture we see from what was happening in different embassies, there's lots that needs to be done. Francis Kamuhanda, thank you very much for joining us. You have the floor, and I would want for you to give us, we have seen everything that has gone wrong. We understand. There's never going to be a perfect picture for anybody or for any country or organization or anything. But how best then, you as Francis, you as Miriam, you as Martin, you as Albert, you're there. How best do you want to participate in Ugandan politics? How best do you want to paint our picture? How best do you want to describe Uganda to your people, the people you meet out there? And first of all, I wonder if you're out there and somebody meets you and says, "Hi, where are you from?" Do you proudly say, "Oh, I am Ugandan"? Or do you just say, I'm from some country somewhere called Uganda? Have you heard about it? I would want you to give us a way forward as we have a few minutes to the end. Please, how best do you want to participate? Francis.
Thank you, Lynn, and my fellow panelists. It's always a pleasure discussing matters of national interest, but also global interest, because this is a global village. I'll begin by saying that we people in the diaspora, we are not immune from all matters, policies, and politics that are taking place back home. And having said that, I will always echo this. The preamble of our constitution summarizes it all. It begins with "we the people of Uganda." So I have always asked myself, does in the discretion of Museveni, does he still think that the rest of the Ugandans are part of Uganda, or Uganda is his? Then the same preamble goes ahead, recalling our history, which has been characterized by politics and constitutional instability. Underline the word constitutional instability. How many times has the constitution been amended just because Museveni wishes so? That is constitutional instability. And they tell us they are defending the constitution. The other remark in the preamble says, recognizing our struggles against the forces of tyranny, oppression, and exploitation. All the three have occurred in Uganda: tyranny, oppression, and exploitation. At least Mr. Byakulela explained thoroughly what is taking place. I may not need to go to that. Then the other statement says, committed to building a better future by establishing a socio-economic political order through popular and durable national constitution based on principles of unity, peace, equality, democracy, freedom, social justice, and progress. Bakasara also talked about how we need to be united. But now coming to the bigger issue, we need to be united. There should be structures, or there should be a foundation. For example, we should mend our democracy, the human rights. Most of the panelists have talked about all these, what is taking place. Cannot really entice somebody to fully participate. The road, we need to have structures. That's why as ANT, we aim at ensuring that the structures of government go back and function properly. We need, Mr. Byakulela talked about the disunity in the opposition. Yes, we need engagement. I know he was talking about political morality. We need politics of tolerance, but although he echoed that it is so unfortunate that government works to disunite all these, what I would call forces of change. The civil space, people have to come out and talk, not thinking that the next time they are going to be whisked away in drones. But then you asked a question also during the discussion, that is the problem Museveni yes, or it could also be a no. It is Museveni. Why? Because Museveni has established a hegemony, a patronage that he thinks about himself and his immediate friends and colleagues. You heard when he was talking about how he's going to fight corruption, that he's going to begin employing the children of the rich, the children, I think they formed the children of the veterans that he went with to the bush. So those are the people that is a hegemony that we are talking about, and that is very dangerous to our country. Having said that, let me come now to the main question that brought this debate. How best can Ugandan in the diaspora participate in Ugandan politics? So I have said first, we need to clean the linen, ensure that the democracy functions in the best way it can. Infrastructure is set up for everyone to be to enjoy Uganda that you are talking of. By the way, if I may talk about the recent pandemic, you know, it exposed a lot. Did you know that I didn't know that Museveni is a hypochondriac? Because the way how Museveni fears disease, I liked it that if it is the same way he was thinking about all other Ugandans, the health sector would have the best. Would have the best because he fears disease like nothing. If you have seen even in the meetings, he will ensure that people are very far. I think that's why even during the COVID-19, if I'm not mistaken, the State House itself has had the greatest expenditure in the history of Uganda. And I think all that money goes to securing Museveni. Not because he's mindful about Ugandans, but he's mindful not maybe contracting a disease and leaving the seat. That is where his mind is. Maybe now that the equation of his son and his immediate whatever comes in, then he looks at that. But anyway, when we look at the biggest constituency in the diaspora, it is growing over time, over and over. Miriam talked about, look at the remittances itself. Like in 2019, almost 1.4 US billion, 1.4 US dollars billions were remitted to Uganda. 2020, it dropped because of COVID to 1.1, about that. So you see that itself is something that government would be thinking and saying, no, this constituency is very important, but they also need to participate in planning. Look at the department that we have. I even don't know, even other people don't know about it. The department in charge of the diaspora affairs in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. What is it doing? Has it ever engaged people? Generally, the only way that government engages people in the diaspora is to come and even divide them, those who are united. For example, I may talk about the politics of UNAA, the Ugandans in North America. It will always work to disunite them. And yet, when we are united, like as we have said, and other panelists have said, one, we can participate in mobilizing resources, both human resource, both capital resource, because we have different skills. All people in the diaspora have different skills, and then we leverage those back home and ensure that they support the development of our country. But that can only happen if this data linen is clean. We are engaged, we participate, we see what is happening in other countries, democracies. They transpire in our country, not the tyranny, the oppression and exploitation of the people. Then two, you had Evelyn was saying is a computer specialist. That transfer of knowledge itself is very crucial. I'm glad I have heard what she's doing back home. It's very important. But when they were closing the civic space, narrowing, the NGOs being closed, but does Museveni think about the people that are being helped, and yet it was his role or the role of his government, but the failure, then the non-government organizations coming. So all these are things that we need to engage in and debate and agree. Miriam, yes, I agree with Miriam when she rose a point of having representation. Yes, we have bodies in the diaspora, associations and organizations that bring us together, but we are lacking a comprehensive kind of structure back home, and that is what Museveni will not do. He has failed to put both structures of government that are operating. Those that operate as briefcase kind of structures in government. So that's why for us at Alliance for National Transformation, we believe when we are in power, we already have an outline of what we can do. You have seen we have been engaging even during the closure of schools. What are the alternative ways of how schools can be reopened? I think Uganda is the only country now remaining in the world where schools are still closed. Yeah, it is a shame, even when there are alternative ways, but because people are making COVID in Uganda as a business, lucrative business, if you keep people in fear and so on, then money will keep flowing in, and while they are doing nothing. So it is a shame, and the best way we can move forward as the diaspora is to have a clean engagement, that as we come, we should be discussing as Ugandans, not Museveni to see us as secondary citizens and then he's the primary citizen and his other friends and so on. So we have to discuss on an even ground. We have to hatch out alternative policies, or when we are faced with a challenge as a team, as one country, not as others are treated as proxies and so on, and then he begins ranting, I shall crush them. No, he will also be crushed if it is a politics of crushing each other. So we need to really have political morality in as far as discussing issues of national importance than looking at our individual or personal sentiments. And the other aspect that I would talk about is how the diaspora we can also engage is transparency. Transparency is lacking, both in Uganda and even in the diaspora. Like, for example, the only way maybe the ambassador will come to engage the community maybe would be an opportunity where maybe they want accountability, maybe an opportunity where there is an independence celebration or whatever. But it should be more than that. These are hard conversations. Some of the conversation can be where we can come and say, okay, what are we doing? What if MPs have been arrested and have not been given bail? We are trying to change the law. Let's have this hard conversation. We'll be having it with the embassy, the Ugandan embassy, and then they relay back the information that I think here we are. But if we are blocked out, that is not going to work anymore. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Francis. You raised very pertinent issues there. You say when there's need for structures, engagement with the necessary authorities, and of course political cohesion or tolerance and transparency. These are very key issues. These are very key challenges we actually are facing and we are lacking as a country. The debate is open to you, ladies and gentlemen. You can I don't know if anyone has anything to say about comment on any of the statements each of you has made. I saw Martin had a hand earlier up. Yes, Martin, I see your hand up. Let's see, what do you have to say, please?
Yeah, thank you so much. As a matter of fact, my participation in this in this event here, I had separated it in two, whereupon in the first part I was trying to explain the politics of Uganda and what they mean to me, or what they should mean to all of us. And I'll very briefly now try to wrap up on how best, because that's how the question was structured. How best can we participate in Ugandan politics?
Yes.
And I'll tell you something. Someone asked a question. First of all, I'd like to thank profusely Francis Kamuhanda. I liked your presentation. Thank you so much. Albert, you want to play. Albert, you want to play diplomacy,
Politics.
but you're still lagging behind. I need to give you a few more lessons in there. Evelyn Nakiduuka, thank you so much. I know that it's still very early in Minnesota, but you still managed. This is the heart of a nationalist and a patriot. Miriam, you are always on top of things. And Lynn, thank you so much for what you're doing. But for all intents and purposes, if anybody phoned me anywhere and asked me to describe Uganda, and I think Lynn, you're the one who posed that question, how would I answer that? And to be sure, I meet a lot of people. Lynn, you don't know that I'm a former diplomat of Uganda. I am a former Ugandan diplomat, and I meet lots of people. I've been in academia, which I am now getting out of, and I meet a lot of people, and they ask me about Uganda. And this is what I tell them. Uganda is a beautiful and naturally endowed country. You cannot believe. Even the sky is bluer than anywhere else. It's such a beautiful country. Unfortunately, it is totally mismanaged by a megalomaniac. That is how I describe Uganda, because those are the facts. It is totally mismanaged by a megalomaniac who is in love of power and who thinks that whatever, in fact, a deluded megalomaniac, because he thinks that whatever he's doing is the right thing, but it's not. By the way, as we speak now, General Muhoozi, if you want to know the politics of Uganda, just tweeted and asked why the people of Tigray are being thumped by the Ethiopian army. The man is going to cause a very bitter diplomatic row between Ethiopia and Uganda. The Tigrayans are the people fighting government, but his father has a close relationship with Prime Minister Abiy, who actually is not Tigrayanian, but what is that other tribe? I forget. Amharic. Those who speak the Amharic naturally. So this is going to cause a problem. And the president of Uganda himself is busy calling upon East African leaders to discuss and find a way for Ethiopia, when he has just signed an agreement for intelligence and exchange of intelligence with Egypt, which is an enemy of Ethiopia. So how can they trust him? So in Uganda, they say, this country you see of Uganda is totally confused. That I can tell you. Just like the example I've given you. It is totally confused. The people in charge do not know what they are doing. However, it would be okay if they did their confusion amongst themselves and whatever. The problem is, when they do their confusion, when they exhibit their incompetence, they are hurting Uganda as a country and Ugandans. Our people are hurting. We have a record now in the world. For 78 weeks, Ugandan schools have been closed. That is the longest in the world for any country that has suffered the coronavirus pandemic. I'm telling you, we would like to speak very beautiful words about the Bachwezi. We would like to speak very beautiful words about Uganda and all those things, but we cannot, because the facts do not support any beautiful words. Bakasara himself told you, after praising the beauty of Uganda as if we are discussing geography, the man turned around and said, I am very ashamed to let my people, my friends, come and visit. Because when we reach Entebbe, we shall all start following up a lady with big bums who has some papers who we don't know whether those papers are the test results that have come. Did you see how people were making a beeline behind that lady with a makunde? Walking like this, she was putting on red and everybody is following her. What kind of management is this? The problem of Uganda is mismanagement. The politics of Uganda is gross mismanagement by Mr. Museveni, who cannot seem to realize that he's doing wrong. How best can the diaspora participate in this? The best way the diaspora can participate in the politics of Uganda is to mobilize and kick Museveni out of power. And that is what we shall do. Indeed, tomorrow I'll be on my live Facebook discussing the best strategy to realize political change in Uganda. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Martin. Albert has his hand up, and before Martin can speak, if there's any other person also, we have a few minutes. We have about 15 minutes to the end of the show. I would want us to make it quick and to the point. Martin, you highlight that if we remove Museveni, then perhaps things might change. I don't know about that. I really don't, but that is what you seem to think. Albert, you have the floor. Unmute yourself, Albert.
Sorry about that. And thank you so much, Lynn. Thank you. And you were looking earlier for positivity. Right here, sitting and us talking, this is the most important positive sign that can come out of what is happening out there. We're not talking to each other. We're clobbering each other. We're despising each other. We're doing all kind of nasty stuff to each other. This, what you're doing right now, providing a platform, as Mr. Kamuhanda said, yeah, the ambassador should be here. Some other official of the government of Uganda should be here. This is a platform where we are exchanging ideas. The question is good. To Martin, I will come to your school, but honestly, I don't believe, I can't subscribe to something I don't believe in. I do not believe that at this point, not years back, but at this point where we are, I don't think that the problems of Uganda are solved themselves. I don't. Because I think, and that's why I rarely discuss him as a person, because I do not see him to even have that much power that we ascribe to him. I think right now, as things stand in Uganda, things are even beyond his control. He created a system, and whatever he was not able to put in place, now the system controls him. I can guarantee you that. There are people in Uganda that he can't touch, and he knows it too. There are decisions in Uganda that he cannot make. He knows that too. So he's not even in control. So I would rather stay away from that line of conversation, of thinking that if Museveni today was to die, and he's an old man, at some point nature will take its course. But I don't believe that tomorrow the problems of Uganda will end there. I don't know, maybe it's my political advantages of having my ear close to the ground, or maybe it's the way I view things, or maybe it was the way I've been raised. But I really don't, I can't subscribe to that. Okay, there are people in Uganda who are doing things, and you scratch your head and wonder why. And I don't think Museveni has a hand in that. If you are a responsible person, you've gone to school and they've given you a ministry to manage, you have an obligation. You have a responsibility. You have kids. You have grandkids. I don't think Museveni is calling you in the middle of the night telling you, you know what? Don't do the right thing. Do the wrong thing. I think that's entirely up to you. And you're just using the government or the leader as a scapegoat. Does he have faults, blames? Absolutely. I'm one of the few Ugandans who have actually asked him that hard questions. One time I remember it was in 2014 or something like that. The last time he bothered to talk to us in the diaspora. I remember asking him a question to maybe highlight any of his regrets, because in my humble opinion, I've never had the president of Uganda have any regrets. He thinks everything he does, everything he says is correct. Again, I don't want to discuss him as a person, but I also don't believe that the problems of Uganda will be solved when he leaves power. Now, back to the question, what do we do? Yes, Lynn said, we know the problems, things are fixed. What do we do? The first thing is to realize where we are. We should not keep our heads in the sand thinking that everything is fine and somehow the Ugandans who are living abroad are going to say that things are fine. We're not going to do that. If things are fine, we'll say things are fine. Where things are wrong, we will say things are wrong. What do you do as Ugandans? Like I said earlier, figure out different ways to engage us. Mr. Kamuhanda mentioned UNAA, and I did not want to bring this up because a couple of months, 3 months ago, I was running for the position of vice president, and we had put up a group, and we really had assembled a team to come and change that organization. The government fought us openly, the government of Uganda, as if somehow we were Cubans or Mexicans. The things they did to us, and this is the story that Lynn and others who are pro, and I don't want to subscribe that because I don't know where politics lie, but I'm saying those who would like to see a bigger, nice picture, those are the stories they don't know. I was running as a vice president for a non-profit organization that assembles and is supposed to assemble and unite Ugandans in North America. I was not an enemy of Museveni or the government of Uganda. I was really trying to help and give my expertise to my community. The organization was not going to add anything to my life. I was just going to volunteer my expertise. But if you looked at the way how they fought us, you would have thought we had started a rebel movement. We were fought. Phone calls to our family, my wife was being threatened. You'd think I had done something wrong. To a point, Miss Lynn Komugisha, to a point whereby I could not even afford to let my family sleep in the convention hotel. Imagine that. I had to go 3 blocks away and rent another hotel for my family for fear that somebody could harm my family in the convention hotel for a non-profit organization that is supposed to unite Ugandans. Now tell me, what picture should I paint?
Well, you can change what's going on, Albert.
I tried. I was trying to run to change it, but I was fighting the government. Do I really, as Albert Bakasara, have the power and the resources and even the energy or the time to fight the government of Uganda?
So what would you
don't. I would advise for them to stop. That's my advice. I would advise Mr. Museveni and those who advise him to look at us differently. Don't look at me, the son of Bakasara, as your enemy. I've never done anything to you. If I want to organize and better my community, that's exactly what I want to do. Don't threaten my wife. Don't threaten my kids. Because somehow you want to keep this community.
Through that.
No, I'm just saying, don't threaten my wife. Don't threaten my kids. What did I ever do to you? And you are the same person who wants me to go sell a positive image of you. How? So I don't want to be as dark. Yeah, so I don't want to be as dark as Mr. Byakulela described, but I also don't want to present this sunny thing that somehow everything is rosy. We have problems, but we need, and I think this is the beginning of very, very good conversation. Let's have these conversations. Let's see what you guys would like to see us do, and let us see what we would like you guys to do. And maybe we would reach a healthy medium somewhere in the middle there that says, okay, this is how we would help each other. Like I said in the beginning, we are Ugandans. We would like your help. You would like our help, because you still need that expertise and that connection and that connectivity with us. And plus, we pour a lot of money into the economy of Uganda.
Right.
So yeah, let's have a mutual beneficial relationship. That's where we can start. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Albert. I equally agree with you that this is a good start, having these conversations perhaps someday they can listen and, something is going to be done. Now, I have a comment from somebody who says, if they want to participate, they have to come back here because they run away. Why do they want to participate when they're out of the country? I thought that was a very interesting comment. Miriam, I see you laughing. I don't know if you want to comment on that. Please.
That's what everyone says. I mean, it's like scapegoating somehow. Whenever you say something and you're outside of the country, they say, oh, why don't you come here and run? But what can you do when you are inside? Either you go in prison for being opposition and someone is going to say you raped someone. We've seen all those incidences happen. Or something else is going to happen. So the issue is, if there was enough space for organizing, Mr. Byakulela talked about it, political parties, if you are opposition in Uganda, you are seen as a traitor. But a traitor for who? Either we don't understand what it means to be opposition, or we don't understand democracy and how it works, or the dictatorship just, uses that as two-weak people to think that being opposition means you hate your government. Actually, being opposition in Uganda is a sacrifice. And it means you love Uganda more because you are going to be harassed. Like Albert and Evelyn said, you are harassed left and right, even when you are in diaspora. That political force doesn't stop coming to you. So we need to really, it's 21st century. How best can we participate in politics as all Ugandans? Whether you ascribe to NRM, whether you are an activist, or whether you are academia, whether you are a business person, how best can we participate in running, in managing Uganda and building Uganda as a nation? Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Miriam. Thank you, Albert. Thank you, Francis. Thank you, Martin. But before we can close, all mismanagement, this is Martin saying, all mismanagement in Uganda is premised, sourced, and ascribed to Museveni. He needs to be removed from office so that country can be reorganized. Well, I don't know about that. Anyway, but that is Martin's idea, and he thinks maybe that can help issues. Thank you very much, people, for making time. I want us to call it a day, unless you have something to add on. Francis, do you have anything to add on? In 1 minute.
Just to say, the person who was saying we have to contribute when we are back home, that is parochial thinking. We have been contributing. We have said, look at the remittances from people in the diaspora. But I would welcome such a person to always come to such a conversations. Maybe at one time, like how Martin said, they can subscribe to our school of thinking and we teach them.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It is very, very heartwarming to hear from you people. And I would urge that you rally everybody in the diaspora to, make some small voice. Every voice counts. So whatever you can, they can bring on the table, surely. I'm certain the government can have an ear for them. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I would love to wish you a very wonderful day. It's I'm somewhere in the middle of Rwenzori National Park, so it's really beautiful. Francis, don't shake your head. Uganda is beautiful. You and I have a responsibility to play, to make it, to bring that to life. We need to stop the negativity that surrounds us everywhere. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.